Hi, I'm Brian Jordan, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
So I got a call that said, this is Susan Bailey. And I said, yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't know a Susan Bailey. She goes, I'm Henry Aaron's secretary. And I went, yeah. She goes, Henry would like to talk to you. I said, yeah, okay. And he said, how would you like to fly down to Sarasota and look at our pictures? And I said, I would love to. He said, well, when can you do it? Jokingly, I said, tomorrow. He goes, okay, we'll take care of that. I'll meet you at the airport in Atlanta. Susan will have the arrangements. And then I get on a plane with Hank Aaron and fly down to Sarasota. He offers me a job, and I said, well, what team do you want me to manage? He goes, no, he wants you to be a pitching coach.
Hi, this is Phil Necro. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Most guys throw it this way. Put the ball back in here, hands come around, and these two fingers come into the ball. And stiff wristed, no follow throw, and just a little up and goes in the bat. I hope there's no rotation on. The ball comes in there and does a lot of difference. It doesn't never do the same thing twice.
This is Kyle Wright, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
One of my favorite moments for your career, as of right now, is actually this past week. It was a show of confidence by Brian Snicker. He left you in the game after bases were loaded. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I went back and I saw that clip on Instagram several times. I'll be honest, I went back and I watched it numerous times. Kind of gave me chills a little bit. It was just really cool. I was kind of lost my command a little bit there. Still made some good pitches, but was definitely getting a little tired. So whenever he said, basically left me in the game, I felt like that kind of gave me what I needed to get me over the hump to make a good pitch, get a ground ball back to me, and get out of that inning.
This is Matt Olson. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond. Yeah, it's a pretty cool experience. Not everybody gets this opportunity to kind of set up their roots and be somewhere long term that they grew up and have family and friends. So it happened pretty quick there in spring training, and it was just an opportunity that my wife and I and my family thought that we couldn't pass up. So just jumped on it, and it's been a blast.
Says, Chief, why don't you race Ralph Garr? I said, okay. Said, Ralph Garr wants to race you too. So we started on the first base line on the outfield line. We started, bam, took off running. I beat him by 3 foot.
Mike Fullnever's here. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
I'm Kelsey Wingert, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hey, this is Andrew Jones. You're watching On Deck with Tyler.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Well, hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate it. And, of course, thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for your continued support throughout this off season. We are here. We've been battling some sickness all week long. I'm sure some of you are probably running into the same flu virus or allergies or whatever's going around. But hey, we got our cough drops. We got our water. We're ready to go. Hate that I missed you guys on Wednesday, but glad that we were able to do this on Saturday. I'm still sort of battling some of the symptoms, so if I sound a little weird, if I have to cough, I apologize. Wanted to go ahead and get out in front of that because I have a feeling it'll happen at least once or twice. But again, thank you for being here. What a week we've had. The Braves have been adding pieces left and right, and what a week again. I mean, we've been kind of speculating all spring training long that, the Braves might not be done adding on, right? Especially when it comes to the bullpen, for example. And they pulled out a couple of names for the pen this week. The biggest one in terms of Braves country was, of course, CRAIG KIMBREL. That raised a lot of eyebrows, and CRAIG KIMBREL is a name that has been brought up a lot over the years. I mean, anytime we've been in need and Craig Kimbrel at the same time maybe is going through a rough patch. We've kind of speculated the idea that, that inevitable return and welcome to the jungle and the whole 9 yards. It's easy as a fan of the Braves to speculate that Craig Kimbrel could one day return. Well, that day was, of course, in March of 2025. And, look, I don't think he's going to be ready for opening day according to all the reporting on it. I don't think that's going to be the case. But the fact that he is even in the Braves organization again makes 13-year-old me smile, because I remember when he and Upton brothers and, Evan Gaddis at the time, and, we got rid of everybody for the rebuild, which we're, of course, reaping the rewards of now with the World Series in 21, with the playoff runs that we've had, and even with the players that we still currently have. We're still reaping those rewards. That said, that doesn't make it any easier for somebody back in the day to let go of guys of that caliber, right? So this does allow Craig Kimbrel to come back and finish his career possibly in a Braves uniform, which I think would be spectacular. When you look at his career, early on, he had a guy in Billy Wagner who pitched for the Braves in his final season for 1 year and really impacted a young Craig Kimbrel. I think this could do wonders for the Braves bullpen, for young guys to work off of, the expertise that Kimbrel has attained. He came in as that young flamethrower, but over the years he had to adapt himself and really change his style to become a more well-rounded pitcher, right? He's always been a really good reliever, but he couldn't just rely on the fastball. Obviously, at one time he could, but he's adapted. And I think, guys that are coming up, could really learn from that. And I think it leaves our bullpen a little bit more full, right? Having a guy like that competing for that spot. One of the, another Brave that has gotten into a lot of conversations this week was Jesse Chavez. Of course, he was with the Rangers, I believe. He's now a free agent. A lot of people are wondering, could we see a return of Jesse Chavez? I think it's possible. I think it's unlikely, though. According to, a lot of the folks out there, there's not really a spot, Jesse Chavez's real role was long relief. But I think, especially once you get to full strength this year, Grant Holmes has kind of taken on that role and arguably has done it better. I love Jesse Chavez. He'll always be a special part of Braves history. I mean, he's the most traded person in baseball history. He'll always be a folk hero for what he was able to do, but I don't think he's really that at this point. I don't think he's that needed on the Braves roster. I still think he can contribute to a major league roster. Hopefully he's still got another year left in him. And as a guy who's met him and interviewed him, he's one of the nicest guys and well-spoken guys you'll ever talk to. I think he could really benefit a club. I just don't think it's Atlanta this year. The bullpen as it stands, though, a lot more locked down than it was last time we spoke to each other. Raisel Iglesias, of course, a lock. Aaron Bummer, a lock. Daysbel Hernandez, a lock. Pierce Johnson, lock. Dylan Lee, lock. Outside of that, you got about 2 or 3 spots there that either are being competed over or a decision is just going to have to be made. I think the guys that are leading it right now, you got about 3 spots again. Hector Neris, I think, is an obvious choice. The Braves just went and got him off the free agent market. I think if he's coming in hot, I think he's going to be on the roster. The other guy that's getting a lot of traction is Eniel De Los Santos. He's getting a lot of traction. I don't know if he's considered a lock per se, but the Braves do seem to really like him. I think Craig Kimbrel, once he's ready to go and ramped up, I think he could very well be on the roster. I think that could be a week in or 2 weeks in that we get a Craig Kimbrel appearance because they're going to give him every opportunity possible. The other thing, though, early on, the Braves may carry an extra starter. There's a 7-day stretch there at the beginning of the season. And again, with Kimbrel joining late, that kind of helps the situation. But we're 5 days away from the start of the season. The 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, 1st, and 2nd. The Braves are on the West Coast 7 days straight. And they could, they could carry an extra starter to kind of help rest Chris Sale and really the entire rotation. Obviously, Chris Sale's going to take the first game against the Padres. We're going to see that. I assume Reynaldo Lopez will take game 2, Schwellenbach game 3. Grant Holmes will likely take the 4th and final game against the Padres on the 30th. Then I think you're going to see A.J. Smith-Shawver. A lot of people are going to say, well, what about Ian Anderson? Ian Anderson has really struggled so far in spring training with walks primarily. He's got the stuff. It's the walks that have really bit him. And I think if you go with A.J. Smith-Shawver, you can keep an Ian Anderson in the pen possibly. And really it doesn't have to be Ian Anderson. I'm assuming it's Ian Anderson because he doesn't have any more options. The Braves are going to try to keep him without getting DFA'd. So I really think that they're going to try to pull that, at least temporarily, to kind of test the waters and maybe give Anderson another week or two to show that he belongs in the rotation or could belong in the rotation. But again, the Braves start the season with 7 straight days on the road before their first off day. Carrying Smith-Shawver could just start that trend of him getting those spot starts similar to how we saw Bryce Elder a few years ago. Mark Bowman put out that he thinks Smith-Shawver is going to have at least 20 starts this year. I think that's very possible. I think this year could be the year that Smith-Shawver really takes off. I've been saying it for a long time now that I thought throughout all of the minors that he was the guy who had the biggest case for being at the major league level, because every time he's been pulled to the major league level, he has met or excelled expectations. I think he's been really good, and I'd be surprised if he didn't really have a good year this year. I got to speak with him a few weeks ago in the clubhouse at spring training, and really, look, I mean, good kid, seems to really be able to wash stuff off, right? Like, he has a bad appearance, he can move right past it, and I think he's really invested. I think he's really turned it up a notch, and I think he really wants to make the rotation. And I think it's more possible than ever right now, right? The only thing that ever kept him from being in the rotation was the fact that you had Max Fried, Charlie Morton, Chris Sale, and so on. You had a loaded rotation. There's opportunity there right now, and right now he's looking like the best that the Braves have to offer, at least in spring training. That can change. We all know spring training is not indicative of how the entire season is going to go, but right now he's looking really good. But no matter what happens in week 1 with that long stretch on the West Coast, you should feel really good right now about the depth of the entire pitching staff. Strider's spring training performances specifically should make you feel really confident in this rotation. His first outing, of course, he struck out 6 of 8. If you had told me he was going to do that, I would have believed you. But to see him do that so early in his recovery is really a good sign. No hits, no walks. I think he'll be back sooner rather than later in the rotation. I don't think that they're going to hold him back for very long. It could be 2 weeks. It could be a month. I don't see it being more than that. I just would be really surprised. The rotation at that point really stiffens up. I think at that point, you go Sale, you go Strider, you go Lopez, you go Schwellenbach. Those are your obvious locks. And I really think A.J. Smith-Shawver is going to win that 5th spot. I do. Grant Holmes has obviously been stretched out. I think that he could potentially remain in the rotation. But I think you're more likely to see him go to the pen because you can use him in a more versatile way. So that's really how I feel. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at your opening day pitching staff. This is just what I think we're going to see for the time being. Obviously, this is subject to change at a moment's notice, the moment Strider comes back or the moment Ian Anderson shows that he's ready to go. But obviously, opening day, you're going to have Chris Sale. We know that he's going to be starting. Your opening day rotation, what it's going to look like is right there in those top 5 lines. Chris Sale, Spencer Schwellenbach, Reynaldo Lopez, Grant Holmes, A.J. Smith-Shawver. Those are the guys that I think you're going to depend on the most, right? Your bullpen is a little bit more tricky. Obviously, I mentioned earlier your locks, Rysel, Pierce Johnson, Dylan Lee, Aaron Bummer, Daysbel Hernandez. Those are your locks. Those are the guys that we know were working last year. We know what they're going to bring, and we have full confidence in that they're going to be in the bullpen for the majority of the season pending injury. Below that, it gets a little tricky because obviously you have to assume that Hector Neris is going to be given the opportunity, being that he just got signed and he should be ready to go by opening day. Again, Iniel De Los Santos, Braves seem to really be on him. He's had a solid spring training. The last spot, I'm giving it to Ian Anderson. I don't feel great about it, but I think that they're going to try every opportunity they can for him to prove that he belongs, to prove that he could compete and be valuable in the pitching staff. Now, once you get to full strength, and that is basically when Strider returns, this is what you're going to have, and your depth is going to improve dramatically, right? Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, Spencer Schwellenbach, Reynaldo Lopez, and I firmly believe A.J. Smith-Shawver will be your fifth guy at some point or another. That is, to me, when you go full strength. Your bullpen is going to improve because at some point, you see on number 12 there, Craig Kimbrel's coming back. And I think he's going to join the bullpen sooner rather than later as well. Number 13, you'll see Grant Holmes. Grant Holmes, I think, will be your spot starter at that point. Ian Anderson, if he proves that he belongs, if he proves that he can be valuable, this may go differently. But this is how I'm seeing based on what we know right now. Now, that doesn't mean that, this couldn't be different, but based on what we have right now, that is the full strength 13-man pitching staff that I see us having. And I think it's a really good one. I think it's a really depth-filled rotation because you do have Ian Anderson and you do have Bryce Elder, you do have Hurston Waldrop all competing to make it in there, right? So if somebody was to be out for 2 weeks, I wouldn't be overly concerned because I know we have guys that are lined up ready to go. And if you had told me that 3 months ago, I don't know that I would feel that way because I was on the campaign of we've got to sign somebody. We have got to go get a starter. We have got to make a move here. And we didn't. The only move of note this offseason really was Jurickson Profar. And you could argue now that, well, what about, Craig Kimbrel? What about Alex Verdugo? What about James McCann? And I'll give you that. But at one time, it was purely Jurickson Profar was it. And I couldn't believe that. I was surprised. And I had a feeling that the Braves are going to attack the pen. I just thought they had to. I thought the pitching staff overall really needed to be looked at. What I didn't account for was Strider was going to come back as soon as he did. I didn't account for that. I thought we were going to be 2-3 months into the season. That's the main thing that has changed. But beyond that, I didn't account for Ian Anderson. I didn't account for Grant Holmes really being given that chance as a starter because I viewed him as a really good long relief guy and a really good spot starter, but not a full-time starter. I just didn't view him that way. My mistake, but he could still be that. I think at some point, though, that they're going to realize that Holmes is more valuable in the pen because we can call him as needed, right? We can rest him as needed. And I think you need a guy like that, right? Jesse Chavez has filled that role, but I think a guy like Grant Holmes is more valuable in the pen than he is in the rotation. Even as a sixth starter, I think he's far more valuable to plug and play as Snit needs. So, again, I feel really good about this pitching staff, better than I would have felt 3 months ago, better than I would have felt a week ago, right? Now that you have Hector Neris, now that you have Craig Kimbrel really shoring up the back end of that pen, potentially once this team does go full strength. I also feel better about it because Spencer Strider is, for all intents and purposes, looking really healthy, and that's a nice sign. So I feel really good about it. I think that overall, Alex Anthopoulos has done a really good job putting this team together and putting the rotation together, putting the bullpen together, and there's still potential changes to be made, right? There's still potential down the road to add on, to make a trade. We're still going to see some of those changes. The Braves have been busy this week. By the time I get off of this stream, you might see a trade being made. You might see additions being made in the free agent market. There's things that are still going to shake out. But I think the fact that the Braves are experimenting is a really good sign that, hey, look, they see what we see. They know what we know. They knew that the bullpen had question marks. They addressed them. They knew the rotation had question marks. They waited it out. So it's all in the way they go about things. And so far, I really like what Alex Anthopoulos has done. I've had to kind of wait and see how it ended up, but I don't think it could have gone much better, right? Strider coming back, Holmes having a solid spring training, Hector Neris being added. You couldn't really paint a better picture. Now, it may not end up that Kimbrel has a good year, Neris has a good year. Things are going to happen. But from a front office perspective, this is about as good a job as you could have done. When we return, we're going to look at the opening day roster. We're going to look at the opening day position players, followed by what's going to change once Acuna comes back. We'll let you know how things are going to shape up and just kind of what I think about the overall position players, the additions that have been made lately. And we got a great show for you. We're going to show you some of the spring training interviews for Jerks and Profar, Acuna, Riley, Olsen. We're going to show you a lot of those just now here in a few minutes. We're also going to talk about Drake Baldwin and the potential for him to be your opening day catcher. So when we get back, we're going to take a look at that opening day roster. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. New Chevy Silverado 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. Brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV with high-tech features, discounted up to $5,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everybody. So let's talk about Drake Baldwin. This is a guy who's been on everybody's radar really all spring training long, especially once Sean Murphy got hurt, went on the IL. He's just been talked about quite a bit, right? At one point, everybody assumed when Sean Murphy got hurt that, look, it's going to be Chadwick Tromp as your opening day starter, maybe Kurt Casale or Sandy Leon as your backup for the time being until Murphy comes back. And then Drake Baldwin kind of went nuts, right? Like he started being brought up a lot, right? While I was at spring training, it was assumed that, hey, this guy very well might make it, sooner rather than later, which came to a lot of people's surprise. Not really myself. And I'm going to tell you why, because I remember when Drake Baldwin was being discussed a lot just as a prospect last year. I mean, in the comments section, I would get it quite a bit. A lot of folks talking about, Tyler, you got to look up this Drake Baldwin kid. You got to look up some of the highlights of Drake Baldwin and just be aware of who this is. So it was really cool to meet him and talk to him. And I'll tell you, I was really impressed with him just in his mindset because, look, stats are one thing. We can all look at stats and try to judge a player that only gets that deep, right? Like this year in spring training, 38 at-bats, 263 average, 694 OPS. What does that really tell you about a player? Not a lot. I mean, you can judge this small sample size and base your judgment off of that. And those numbers really aren't going to jump off the page. No homers, 3 RBIs. But the guy only has 75 games played at the AAA level. Right? Now, at AAA, he's got a 300 average, which is really good. He's got a 405 on-base percentage. He's got a 488 slug, 13 homers. That's a better stat line, no doubt about it. Bigger sample size. Obviously, it's going to be a little better. I think his bat will evolve at the big league level. I think that'll be fine. But behind the plate, the guy's terrific, by all accounts. And if you don't believe me, here's what Chris Sale said about him. There's no question that he's ready for it being the big leagues, of course, but just his attitude, his character, his demeanor, he's just as prepared as anybody. Strider said he's a phenomenal catcher. I love throwing to him. He has a very good personality. He's friends with everybody. He went on to say he's a phenomenal player with a great swing, but he just has the presence of a guy that has experience. And I'll agree with that. The fact that, look, I mean, it doesn't matter if I agree with it. The fact that you have Sale and Strider's approval just for being behind the plate means a lot. If you remember William Contreras and his, arrival to the big leagues, great bat. everybody was excited about his bat. We all knew that he could rake, right? And he did. He did with the Braves. He does now with Milwaukee. He's always had a good at bat. The one concern that Contreras had was his performance behind the plate, was his performance with the pitching staff. And I've always thought that that's a bigger deal, especially to the Braves, which we saw that play out. He got traded. It came out later that a lot of pitchers did not like throwing to him, right? Whether it be the one knee on the ground or whether it be, just the pass balls or whatever the case may be, pitchers did not like throwing to William Contreras. That is a real thing. That played out, and look, his bat was great. His defense concerned pitchers. Drake Baldwin seems to have both, right? The bat, I just read off the stats. The defense behind the plate, Sale and Strider give their seal of approval, so it seems like he's got both. I spoke with him, though, a few weeks ago, and I'm going to show you the soundbite. I spoke to him about that balance of hitting and defense as a catcher because it really doesn't make a difference to any other position except catcher. Catching is the most important position defensively, and especially balancing that, right? Balancing, working with the pitching staff, knowing the signs, being able to handle all of that defensively along with, working in the cage, getting ready in that kind of regard. I have a special part in my heart for catcher just because my good buddy Johnny Estrada, I talked to him about this a lot, the art of catching, anything you do as a hitter is gravy if you're the catcher, right? Similar to shortstop, right? In the old days especially. You're more akin to be judged on your defense than you are your offense. And, anyway, I spoke to Drake Baldwin about that. He had a real interesting response. Take a look.
The thing you work for is to play in the big leagues, so it's obviously exciting to have a door open and kind of an opportunity to get that chance to play. But I mean, it's still just we have a while left of spring training. It's still going in every day, trying to get better and doing as much as I can to be the best player I can be.
What does it mean to be with a team like the Braves?
I mean, just like the history, the tradition, how many great players are on this team. It's pretty cool to just be in a locker room, even in spring training with all of them. I mean, great people, great players, and there's so many great fans as well. Just being able to play for an organization like this is pretty special.
A lot of people are going to talk with catchers that catching comes first, hitting comes second. Where do you stand on that? Like, what is your focus on right now?
I mean, I think they're both very important. I think you can be good at both of them. I don't think you necessarily have to sacrifice one for the other if you're putting in the preparation and the work beforehand of just kind of being prepared defensively and then obviously going up and having a good mindset when you're up to hit, having a good approach, getting the work in the cage and everything like that.
Regardless of the level this year, what's your biggest goal?
Just to go out there, have fun, and be the best player I could be.
Really fun guy to talk to. Young guy, carries himself really well, speaks really well, and you can tell has that presence that Strider spoke about. He has that presence of a guy that has experience, and he really comes off that way. He's extremely mature for as little of a time as he played at AAA, little as time as he's played, in the minors in general. That said, he's not the only catcher that the Braves have, right? You have Chadwick Tromp. We mentioned him. A lot of people assumed he would be your opening day starter because we've seen so much of him at the big league level. He's performed really well at the big league level defensively. But the Braves also had Kurt Casale. They had Sandy Leon. They had a lot of guys that could very well get that opportunity due to Sean Murphy falling out. The Braves even just added James McCann. A lot of people were talking about this, and it was interesting. I mean, the fact that the Braves do have so much depth, it seems, at catcher, and they're still adding, says a lot about the way they feel in terms of depth. They know that depth is more important than ever. James McCann, by the way, last year with the Orioles, also formerly played with the Mets. That's probably where you've seen most of his play, if you're a baseball fan, especially a Braves fan. But with the Orioles, he had a .234 average, 8 homers. He's just another veteran to choose from if another injury were to strike. We've already seen Sean Murphy go down. You all remember last year. This is just another veteran that they can keep in the minors, I believe, that could be the backup. James McCann could take over as backup at the major league level. Now, we've seen Drake Baldwin get the call to the 40-man. He's on a Major League Baseball roster, but that doesn't mean that it's permanent. It doesn't mean he's the opening day starter. It doesn't mean anything like that. All it means is he is currently on the Major League Baseball roster. Now, I think they're likely going to keep him there. I think he's either going to be the opening day starter or the backup, one or the other. But James McCann, with the veteran status that he has, I think is more likely than a Kurt Casale or a Sandy Leon. I think it's really a competition between three guys right now. That's, of course, Chadwick Tromp, Drake Baldwin, and James McCann. I think that's the competition. Two are going to stay, one's going to go, and then once Murphy's back, the best of those three is going to remain. So very interesting how this has all kind of gone down. I don't think it's done, but it's good to know that the Braves do have depth at that position. Braves catchers right now, again, Sean Murphy on the IL, Drake Baldwin, Chadwick Tromp, James McCann, Kurt Casale, and Sandy Leon. So that's 6 really MLB-level catchers that the Braves have in their organization. And you never know. That might lead to a trade, right? Somebody at some point may need a catcher. That is a position that is in demand a lot. They may use 1 or 2 of those guys in a trade. We could see that. Now, and I was talking about depth and the addition of James McCann. I think the same could be said about Alex Verdugo. Verdugo just added, again, outfield bench guy in 2024 with the Yankees, 233 average, 291 on base, 13 homers. Really a good depth piece. He's been more of a well-known player. I mean, he's been in some of the biggest markets in baseball, obviously Boston, New York. He's been around. I think this is a really smart move. I don't think he's going to be on the opening day roster, obviously. I think with the injury concerns, the knowledge of knowing that the roster you have has got to get through the 162-game marathon. I think that that's the main reason that Alex Verdugo was added, right? Acuna still not back. Profar got hurt in spring training. Michael Harris missed substantial time last year. Like, you just never know when you might need another outfielder. And this is a guy who you could pull in, and he might not put up the same numbers as an Acuna or a Harris, but he can give you good defense. He can give you a solid at-bat as well. So I think this is a really good addition. You never know when he might get the call. And the good news for Verdugo is he can grow his beard back. Whether he's on the Yankees or not, I guess now, but he can grow it back because he is on the Braves. We were just talking about Profar. What an extreme addition for the Braves offense. I think this is just a really good addition. I love the fact that we got him. He had a really good year last year. He obviously Curaçaoan born. The Braves have a long history going back to Andrew Jones in the 90s of bringing in Curaçaoan players. They actually have the record for most Curaçaoan-born players in a Braves uniform across Major League Baseball. What he did last year in San Diego, outstanding. We saw it in the playoffs. I was able to speak with him about being able to play for Atlanta, what that means to him, and really just being able to be in the same uniform, be one position over from his hero, Andrew Jones. Take a look. First off, man, good to have you here. What's it mean to be playing for the Atlanta Braves?
It means a lot. It means a lot, great organization, an organization that accomplished a lot, and there's a lot more to be accomplished because we have a really, really good team here and guys that are hungry for a lot of things.
I know you grew up in Curaçao, watching the Braves back in the day. Can you talk to me about that and just obviously what it means to be able to wear that A on your cap?
Yes, I grew up watching the Braves and Andrew Jones. It was, I was excited, very, very excited and humble to be able to wear this uniform. It's a uniform that I grew up watching and grew up rooting for, and I'm gonna have a chance to play for the Braves.
And to be able to share an outfield with guys like Ronald Acuna and Michael Harris, at least when Ronald gets back, what's that gonna, what do you think that outfield's gonna look like?
It's gonna look really, really good. Like I said, there's a lot of talent in here and guys that wanna be good, guys that wanna get better every day, and it's going to be a very, very exciting season.
we saw what you could do last year in the playoffs against the Braves. What did you notice about the Braves during that stretch, just in terms of caliber, maybe starting pitching and that kind of thing?
Everything. The Braves are a young team and an energetic team, and that's why I wanted to join it, because you can see it. You can see it when you play against them. They play with high energy and it's contagious.
I know the first games are going to be back in San Diego. How cool is it going to be able to get right back in and play over at Petco Park?
Yeah, it's very good, very good. I think it's going to be exciting, to start against a team that I give everything for the last 4 years, and it's going to be exciting.
And as excited as Profar is to be with the Braves, I know fans are obviously thrilled to have him, but so are a lot of the other players, right? Corner outfielders, center fielder. Really, anybody in the lineup is happy to have a guy like Profar in there. Good power numbers, but also the ability to line it out, get on base, and really perform on a consistent level. I think this is going to be really good for the Braves lineup. I think it's a terrific addition. It really locks in that left field spot that has been more of a platoon position for quite a while, right? Whether it be Jared Kelenic, Eddie Rosario spent time out there, Adam Duvall over the past few years. We've seen that position shift quite a bit. And I think having a guy like Profar really does make this a cemented spot, right? Acuna's your right fielder, Harris is your center fielder, and Profar is your left fielder. I think that's a really good thing to have, and I think it's a rarity now for the Braves to have that locked-in outfield, something that we haven't had in a long time. And really, it matches the infield now, locked-in infield, right? Everybody in the infield, for the most part, is pretty locked in and established. That one spot in the outfield was the one position that wasn't really locked in, and I think they were able to do that and lock it in for a long time, too. I think that's a big deal, and I think, obviously it's not just me that's excited. It's not just you that's excited. It's also some of Profar's new teammates. Take a look.
Obviously had a really good year, been around for a while, so the experience there, really good player, but lefty righty, at the plate's going to just add depth and to when healthy, a really good lineup. I think it's just going to it's going to be tough on opposing pitchers.
He's a great player, had a hell of a year last year. Switch hitter, plays good defense, can play multiple positions in a pinch, runs the bases, he just does it all. So it's a good element to add for sure.
That's going to add a lot of fun, and we already know what he did last year. Very productive with the Padres, and I guess still put up some good defensive plays. So it'll be fun. It's been fun here so far, so I can't wait to see what it's like for the remaining 162.
Great stuff there. You saw the fans there getting autographs from Profar, getting pictures with him. Teammates excited. We're excited. I know you're excited. But something else that we're all excited for, no doubt about it, is the return of the most valuable player for the National League back in 2023, Ronald Acuna Jr. What can he do in 2025? What can he be? When will he be back? We're going to talk about all of that when we come back. We're also going to hear from the man himself. We'll be right back.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. New Chevy Silverado 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. Brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV with high-tech features, discounted up to $5,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everybody. Of course, we are not done tonight. I saved the best for last. You know, last year I spoke to Ronald Acuna about his biggest goal, right? Coming off the 40-70 season, you would think he'd say 50-80. He told me it was real simple. He told me it was to stay healthy. That was his biggest goal. Of course, did not end like that. He went out with a second torn ACL. Obviously, just a really down season. Really for the team in general, but specifically for Acuna to not be able to be there, not be able to be a part of the team. I asked him also what his biggest goal was for this year. Take a look. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. You know, I'm working hard every day here with the trainer, with the coach, trying to be better every day to come back soon.
Of course, a lot of people are excited for you to come back. What's it going to mean to step back on that field after your journey this past year?
And I know how much work I put into myself to be here again, to play baseball. It's a blessing, you know, to enjoy like this. But I'm focused on one goal: stay healthy and help my team win.
How much have you missed the game?
Hmm?
How much have you missed the game?
A lot. It's hard when I can play, see my teammate play, but that's part of the game, you know. That's part of the game. Injury is part of the game, but this year is different. We can play hard, and no matter what happens.
I asked you last year around this time what your goal was, and you told me it was to stay healthy. What's your goal this year?
Stay healthy, man. I just wanted that. Stay healthy and play hard, help my team win a lot of games, and that's it.
Tell me about this team. What makes this team special?
I think the energy, you know, we have a lot of veterans with rookie guys, and you know that's miss, and we put together and show to the fans the best thing we can do, and show to them.
I know we're all ready to see Ronald Acuna come back and be the MVP that we all know he is. Austin Riley spoke on it, you know, saying it's really hard to replace an MVP, speaking on last year and all the challenges that were had, really due to not only his exit, Spencer Strider's as well. I want to thank everybody that did speak with me at spring training. A lot of guys took the time, didn't have to. Really appreciate that. Also, you know, it's a blessing to be able to do it. I love doing it. Thankful for the support from you guys. Thankful for everybody that made that possible. Also thankful to where I work, WRBL. We have a lot of those segments on WRBL.com. I would encourage a lot of you guys to go check those out. Some of those are more deeper than just showing you the interview. I kind of go in depth and speak about the different things. There's a really good one on Profar that you ought to go take a peek at. Again, WRBL.com. Thankful for them to allow me to do that, and hopefully I'll get to do it for years to come. Again, thank you for being here tonight. We're going to continue to drop those interviews on YouTube over the next couple days as spring training does come to an end. We wanted to show you kind of a sneak peek of what all we got. But we hadn't even broken the Ozzy interview, the Ozuna interview. I mean, we've gotten a lot of them. But I think this kind of hits some of the bigger storylines that are there in spring training. The return of a lot of star players. You know, the fact that you're going to have potentially a prospect starting as your catcher on opening day. I mean, we have a lot of storylines, a lot of guys that are coming back, you know, in terms of like a CRAIG Kimbrel, a lot of new additions. And like Profar, it's going to be a lot of fun this year. I feel good about this team, better than I felt last year. You know, better than I've felt in a long time. And I'm genuinely excited for this team this year. And I think they are too. You feel it when you're there. You know, you really do. Like you feel the excitement. You know, the clubhouse has always been a lot of fun to be in. I mean, obviously you can imagine with that cast of characters, it really is a fun place to be. but you feel their excitement. You feel like they want to prove that 2023 was not just a one-off. They want to prove that they are that dominant of an offense. They want to prove that, when healthy, they are the best team in baseball. And I believe that. I know you do as well. When we return, we're going to get to your comments. But remember, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Really would appreciate that. Hit the bell for notifications. That's just so you're notified when we go live, when we drop new content. Really would appreciate that. And again, just liking the stream, getting this out there to more Braves fans really does help us out. And we genuinely do appreciate it. And again, thank you for being here tonight. You could have been anywhere. You chose to be here with us. We thoroughly do appreciate that. We're going to try to do more live streams. Guys, I'm planning a wedding. I've been sick. I've been doing what I can. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be with you. We're going to try to make this more regular during the regular season and even throughout the postseason. We want you to be a part of it. So again, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can be a part of it right here at On Deck. So when we get back, we're going to get through your comments before we get out of here and get them in. I'd love to hear what you got to say. We'll be right back.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
All right, guys, welcome back. We're going to start with the Battery who tunes in. He says, Tyler, will the 2025 Braves become the first team in Major League Baseball history to go undefeated in the regular season? I like our chances. 162-0. I got to tell you, I'm probably taking the under there. But, I mean, look, I think the Braves have the chance, especially when everybody's healthy. And it really depends on, when everybody comes back. I think they have a chance of having the most wins in baseball this year. I think they have a chance of having the most homers in baseball, like they did a couple of years ago. I think there's a real chance for them to do something that makes everybody aware that when healthy, this team is the best team. I do think that. Now, 162-0, I'll again take the under, but I wouldn't put anything past them. Scooter Puff says, I'd like the vibes a lot more this year. Last year, it felt like the guys were putting a lot more pressure on themselves, and it ended up imploding with all of the cascading injuries. Yeah, I think you're kind of right. I think 2023 probably made everybody feel like they had to repeat that. And I think having that year where, let's face it, we were smacked in the face a few times with injuries. I think having that kind of, not humbled everybody, but just put everybody, in a mindset of, look, I just need to do my job and I need to trust the teammates around me. I definitely think that there is a different vibe. I don't know what to attribute that to, but I think, similar to 2023, you have, or I guess 2022, you have Acuna coming off of, an ACL tear. And 2023 really was the first year he was fully healthy. And it's kind of a similar setup. He's just ready to be back. You could hear it in his voice. Riley, ready to be back. This is an unusually long time since he's played his last game. Guys like Olsen are just happy to have all these guys back. And I think they're ready to really get after it. I do. I think that they're extremely ready to start the season. And I think that, the quicker the better for a lot of them. But I think you're right. I think that it definitely feels like they're happy to be there, which, not to say that they weren't last year, but more so this year. I will agree with that completely. Ron says, if I wasn't a Braves fan and I knew that they were prone to slow starts, I would be worried. The B-Squad keeps putting up runs and the big boys aren't. Yeah, spring training, not really indicative. It was nice to see Ozuna hitting a homer the other day. But I'm not really worried about that. I'm more worried, again, as I said, is everybody healthy? Is everybody operating on all cylinders? The rest will handle itself. I don't need, 15 straight wins in spring training. I'd much rather have that 2 weeks into the season, That's just how I feel. Jonathan, how's it going, buddy? Says, what do you think is going to happen to Kelnick and Brian De La Cruz when Alex Verdugo gets some playing time in Gwinnett and thinks that he's ready? I mean, I think Alex Verdugo is depth. I think Brian De La Cruz is depth. I think once everybody's healthy, Jared Kelenic is probably off the bench. Not to say that those guys won't have big league time. I think they will. But I don't know that they're going to be used regularly, right? I think Kelenic has more of a chance. But Verdugo, Brian De La Cruz, I think Brian De La Cruz will be off the bench. Eli White has proven that he can handle both the outfield and infield, so that makes him kind of super utility. I think he's more likely to be off the bench than anybody. Nick Allen is a good infield guy. There's a lot of ways it can go. I think if Verdugo goes down to Gwinnett and really proves himself and shows that, look, and he's hitting the, it's all about what you do, right? Like, we can all kind of pinpoint what's this guy going to do, how's this going to shake out. But 2 weeks into the season, if Verdugo doesn't have a hit, he might be released, right? So it's kind of a put him out there, see what happens type of situation more than anything. Jonathan also asked, do you think James McCann spends the whole season in Gwinnett? Probably not, or will get called up to the Braves when Sean Murphy comes back from injury to back him up. They could put Baldwin back in the minors to give him more reps. That is possible. McCann definitely, had they not gotten McCann, I might feel differently, but McCann definitely has more big league experience in handling pitching staffs and that kind of thing. I think overall, though, they seem to really believe in Baldwin. I think by midseason, that might be Sean Murphy and Baldwin together, with Murphy kind of raising up Baldwin over the next few years as a catcher. I am curious to see how it plays out. I don't know. I think Baldwin could outright win the job, right? I mean, if he's just coming up and he's a Hall of Fame level hitter and is terrific behind the dish. I mean, just you never know how this is going to play out. In all likelihood, the Braves are not going to steer away from Sean Murphy, right? They're going to try their best to keep him in that starting role. They've invested a lot in him. They've given him a lot of time to figure it out and, adjust to playing with the Braves and that kind of thing. But so far, he hasn't had the start that a lot of people hoped he would, or that we hoped he would, or that he hoped he would. He hasn't been that guy that he was in Oakland, whether it be to injuries or whatever the case may be. I think primarily it's injuries. Maybe it is at a certain point, a year and a half from now or 2 years from now, that Murphy, I'd hate to say he's the backup. Maybe there's a trade. There's a lot of things that can happen. I think in all likelihood, in the near future, Murphy's your starter, Baldwin's your backup, or Murphy's your starter, Baldwin's in AAA getting the majority of those starts, and when Murphy gets hurt, or when Murphy is out, or when Murphy whatever, Baldwin's your guy to pull right up. Because Chadwick Tromp, is a really good backup, really helped the team, I think, for a few weeks. Was it beginning of last year, beginning of the year before? Really came up and played really well. So the key here is that there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of guys that can be called upon. And that's the good news, because obviously there's fans of minor league teams out there, and you're going to care what guys you're watching. But the real key here is, how does this help the major league team, right? Because if you're looking at all of the guys that are there, James McCann, Sandy Leon, Drake Baldwin, Sean Murphy, right? There's 4. We'll just use those 4. If you're looking at all those guys, well, that's a lot of guys that you can manipulate where you need them, right? You can pull them up to AAA. You can pull them up to the major leagues, while also, giving your guys adequate time off if they're injured or whatever the case may be. The key is they have a lot of depth, and I think Drake Baldwin has a future in the Braves uniform. I really do. It may be that Murphy's playing great this year, Baldwin's playing great, and that's a great catching combo, and Alex Anthopoulos looks like a genius for not bringing back Travis d'Arnaud, right? It may be that Drake Baldwin's playing so good in triple or double or AAA that the Braves just said, we're going to trade this guy and get X, Y, and Z. It may be that they trade Murphy. It may be, there's a lot of ways this could go. I think in all likelihood it'll be Murphy and Baldwin behind the dish this year. Jeff Berry, I just saw your name. Jeff Berry says, I am more excited to see Baldwin than anyone this year. I am probably most excited to see Strider. That's probably the guy that I'm just most excited to see play is Strider. Atlanta Braves Chop Live tunes in, says, great job, Tyler. I appreciate it because I am battling. Y'all don't even want to know what I've been dealing with this week. I have been going through it. The pollen or whatever has gotten to me, and I am fighting for my life. But I'm here for you guys. We're going to do it till the comments run out. And again, appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Glad to be here. Glad I can finally muster up my voice to get on here and talk, at least enough to where it's legible. Scooter Puff says, it was funny watching the Tigers run themselves in outs thinking Drake had missed a ball, but then they got gunned down trying to advance. Yeah, I mean, Baldwin has caught a lot of people off guard, no doubt about it. Jake Hobby says, I thought signing Verdugo was interesting with all the outfielders we have. I think it's purely depth. And again, after last year, if Verdugo is available and is willing to sign a minor league deal, do it. I mean, I think that's purely a let's just make sure we are covered injury-wise and that kind of thing. Over precaution. Duck Disciple says, I like the Profar pickup. Looks like a great fit coming off a good year and has seen to pick up where he left off by performing well in spring. Yeah, and you could tell he's happy to be there. You probably saw it in that interview. I mean, being able to play on a team that you watch growing up, that your favorite player was on, I'm sure that makes a difference. And he definitely seems to have become well adjusted and really likes playing with the Braves, and that's a great thing. I'm happy for him, and we'll see. Let's see. I don't. The Dixon Way. I'm gonna need some explanation. What is the Dixon Way? I'm gonna need some Dixon Way raid. Oh, is that like a? I think that's hang on a second. That's like where the stadium is, right? Am I getting that right? I guess so. I should probably know that, but I don't. Scooter Puff says, I think a rotation of Sale, Strider, Schwellenbach, Ronaldo Lopez, and AJ Smith-Shawver is probably the best rotation in baseball if everyone stays healthy and reaches their potential. That's true, but you could say that about a lot of rotations. If everybody hits their potential and stays healthy, that they're probably the best. It's all about who does, right? And that's the goal, is to stay healthy and reach your potential. So we'll see what they do. I genuinely hope, they're able to figure something out. Jake Hobby, I also thought signing Kimbrel was interesting considering he's been struggling lately. No doubt about that. I think with Kimbrel, I think it's a mixture of having him around, sure, and having him in the pen, but also having him mentor some of the young guys. I mean, guys, that's literally what Billy Wagner did with Kimbrel 10, 15 years ago, right? Like, that's kind of how he got his start. I think it's almost poetic that he gets to do that now. I think it's great. I think if he's able to contribute, that's awesome. And I think, working with the Braves pitching staff could be really, really good. We'll see. But, I think that working with the Braves and being on the Braves, change of scenery, that kind of thing, could really benefit Kimbrel in his career and could help, put one final stamp on what could be a Hall of Fame career. Look, I mean, Billy Wagner finally made it in, should have made it in quite a long time ago. Kimbrel could be on a similar trajectory. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I hope he one day makes it. And I'm happy to have him back. I genuinely hope Welcome to the Jungle gets to be played in Truist Park. I really do. Jonathan says, I can't wait until Ronald Acuna and Spencer Strider come back 100% from their injuries. No doubt about it. I think they're both on great paths to doing that. I think Strider looked great. Acuna's looked good all spring training long. His BPs, he's been really hitting some bombs. and you don't have to take that from me, but I mean, a lot of media has said that. I was only there for a few days, but I saw him. I mean, he was hitting well. He looked good. He was running. He looked good there. I'm ready to see him in some games. I really am. Yeah, and Jonathan says, yeah, what a spring training start for Strider, striking out 5 or 6 in a row. Yeah, he struck out 6 of 8. I mean, if that's not a Strider start, then I don't know what is. And that's only like 2 innings, maybe 3. Like, it's not, how many is that? It's like, it's 2 2/3. So, I mean, take what you can get, but I thought that was really a good sign that Strider is, again, going to be back sooner rather than later. Guys, I'm going to answer this final question, and I'm probably going to get out of here and go dose up. But Jake Hobby asks, what happens with Anderson, AJ Smith-Shawver, and Elder? Do they get sent down, released, since Anderson has no options left? If they decide Anderson's not there, then yeah, I assume he'll get DFA'd. He'll be put on waivers and go through, and if he makes it all the way back, then he'll remain in the Braves minor league system. Elder, I think, will probably start in the minors. I don't think he's shown them enough to justify being sent up to the majors. AJ Smith-Shawver, I think, could. I think AJ Smith-Shawver is probably your most likely 5th starter at full strength. And I'll show you the graphic we did earlier. You might be joining us late. But this is what I think it's going to look like when everybody's back, when everybody's full strength and good to go. I think you're going to have AJ Smith-Shawver in that 5th spot of the rotation. I really do. I think he's got the most potential out of everybody that's in the minors. Maybe not the most potential, but he's on the precipice of getting to the majors more so than anybody else in the minors. Certainly was last year. And I think very well could be that 5th guy. A lot of people are going to ask, what about Grant Holmes? I think he's going to fit nicely in the bullpen as a long relief guy or as a spot starter, more so than Ian Anderson, more so than Bryce Elder or Hurston Waldrop ever would. They're going to keep those guys in the minors and try to get them back to where they need to be in Ian Anderson's case, or try to get them where they need to be in Hurston Waldrop's case for one day making it to the major leagues. But they're going to want to keep them on regular rest. They're starters. They are not relievers. I think Grant Holmes has a unique ability to balance both of those, right? To balance being a spot starter and a bullpen guy, or, being a starter solely. I think he could do both. I don't think Ian Anderson can. I don't think Elder really can. Elder probably more so than Anderson, but I don't think either one of them are designed for that. I think they're both going to have time in the minors to figure out their stuff and figure out where they're going to go. And I hope that they both make it to the majors one day and have a great tenure, but so far that just has not been the case. Mass Boo says, I think Kimbrel needs to lay off that 65-ish% fastballs and needs to implement his curve and slider more, as both produce good whiff rates. I don't know what, this doesn't relate to what you're saying, but I kind of agree with you. Having a guy like Kimbrel around could be really beneficial for a guy like Strider. I just want you to think about that. Young guy who can throw 1,000,000 miles an hour. I think a guy like Kimbrel could really help him. Not that, Strider's a reliever. I'm just saying the philosophy of using more off speed could be beneficial. I think we'll see Strider back for the Twin Cardinals series at home. Mass Boo says starting the 18th, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's probably a fair guesstimate. I don't know for sure. I'm not a doctor, but I think it'll be sooner than later. I don't think that there's any reason after a couple of, starts in the minors, if everything looks good, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't go ahead and pull Strider up. I'd be surprised if you didn't. But the one thing I will say is, last year I kind of raised the question of, is, Strider trying to do that curveball affecting his elbow? Is, that kind of thing? It seems to me that that's not the case, because we've seen that curveball thrown quite a bit, and they're going with it. And you got to think, we never really saw Strider implement that curveball. Like, we went through it last year. I don't know if I still have this animation saved. I hope I do. I don't think I do, though. I'll look. But we went through it last year where Strider had brought in a new pitch. It was kind of a curveball, and that had not been, part of his repertoire Prior to that, nah, it's gone. But that was not part of it prior to that, and that was a really big deal at the time. And the fact that he was going to have the fastball, the slider, the change, and the curve, we haven't seen that Strider yet. That could really, at least across the whole season, that could really be a huge factor in a great year for Strider, Cy Young candidate year. I think that's got all the potential in the world. I mean, Chris Sale said it the other day. He's still the best pitcher on the team, and he is. Chris Sale, Cy Young Award winner, future Hall of Famer, but Strider's the ace. No doubt about that. I think it's going to be a great year. I'm looking forward to it. I know you guys are too. And there's a lot of reasons to be excited, whether it's Strider, whether it's Acuna, whether it's Profar, whether it's Riley. I mean, whatever your reason for being excited, you have all the reasons in the world to do that. I am excited myself. I hope to be there for the home opener. I hope to be there quite a bit this year. I really do. Of course, Columbus is also investing in a minor league team, a AA affiliate for the Braves. If you ever make the trip to Columbus for the Clinkstones, we actually recently just spoke, did a live show with Clinkstone's general manager here in studio, which is really cool. I'd encourage you, look, I'll be there for probably the majority of the home games. So, come down to Columbus, and if you see me, I'll be glad to speak. And if you see me at Truist Park, I'm always happy to speak. But again, I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited. I think there's a lot of reasons to watch the Braves this year. And like Jake Hobby says, 5 more days till opening day. And there's a lot of reasons to be there, a lot of reasons to be excited. So a lot of reasons to subscribe to this channel is what I'm telling you. So like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Hit the bell for notifications so that you can be fully updated on the Braves so that you know when we go live, when we do pretty much anything. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. And if you would, please do follow us on social media as well. You can find me at Tyler Redmond TV. That's on Twitter and Instagram. I try to post fairly regularly, mostly on Instagram, if I'm honest. But I do a little here and there on Twitter. But I try to follow, get whatever messages you guys send and respond. I really try to be up to date on everything. And I'm looking forward to this season. I again, know you are too. And again, thank you for tuning in tonight and going with me through the struggles that I'm going through. Really appreciate that. You didn't have to. And of course, we're going to do this far more regularly now. And we're glad to be back. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, I'm working hard every day here with the trainer, with the coach, trying to be better every day to come back soon.
Of course, a lot of people are excited for you to come back. What's it going to mean to step back on that field after your journey this past year?
And I know how much work I put into myself to be here again, to play baseball. It's a blessing, to injury like this, but I'm focused on one goal: stay healthy and help my team win.
How much have you missed the game?
Hmm?
How much have you missed the game?
A lot. It's hard when I can play, see my teammate play, but that's part of the game, That's part of the game. Injury is part of the game, but this year is different. We can play hard, and no matter what happens.
I asked you last year around this time what your goal was, and you told me it was to stay healthy. What's your goal this year?
Stay healthy, man. I just want that. Stay healthy and play hard, help my team win a lot of games, and that's it.
Tell me about this team. What makes this team special?
I think the energy, we have a lot of veterans with rookie guys, and that's means, and we put together and show to the fans the best thing we can do, and show to them.
The thing you work for is to play in the big leagues, so it's obviously exciting to have a door open and kind of an opportunity to get that chance to play. But I mean, it's still just we have a while left of spring training. It's still going in every day, trying to get better and doing as much as I can to be the best player I can be.
What does it mean to be with a team like the Braves?
I mean, just like the history, the tradition, how many great players are on this team. It's pretty cool to just be in a locker room, even in spring training with all of them. I mean, great people, great players, and there's so many great fans as well. Just being able to play for an organization like this is pretty special.
You know, a lot of people are going to talk with catchers that catching comes first, hitting comes second. Where do you stand on that? Like, what is your focus on right now?
I mean, I think they're both very important. I think you can be good at both of them. I don't think you necessarily have to sacrifice one for the other if you're putting in the preparation and the work beforehand of just kind of being prepared defensively, and then obviously going up and having a good mindset when you're up to hit, having a good approach, getting the work in the cage and everything like that.
Regardless of the level this year, what's your biggest goal?
Just to go out there, have fun, and be the best player I could be.
This video has been brought to you by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.